Hi, I'm Roy Murphy. You're watching the Bitconnect YouTube channel. Coming up in today's video, Bitconnect, decentralized or centralized? Hello everyone, I'm Roy Murphy. Welcome back to the Bitconnect YouTube channel. Before we get any comments on YouTube, centralized and decentralized in my country, in my language, is spelt with an S, not with a Z. And when I say Z, I don't mean Z. Z's are for snoozing, and if you snooze, you lose. It's my language, deal with it. Today we're looking at whether Bitconnect is a decentralized or centralized system, and the short answer is yes. More details will follow, but before all of that, we need to do what we do every single day and do our daily reinvest. So let's get on with it. Today in my lending wallet I have a 195.85. It's a little bit bigger than normal today. We'll go through the reasons why later. We're going to do our reinvest. And you will see that my level bonus here is 172.90. Now I'm going to reinvest this today. Normally I don't. We did a reinvest video yesterday, and we showed you how to use our Bitconnect calculator to actually add money that has come from different sources. So if you buy in Bitcoin and bring it in later on, it's part of your principal, but it's not part of your starting figure. So we'll bring that in today as well. And we'll bring the leftover amount, $5.20 and $17.25. So my actual accrued profit and leftover amount with no growth was actually only $20, and there's $170 brought over from my level bonus, so that's a total of $190. And we'll see how that affects the calculator later on. So let's go to reinvest and confirm. Done, 190. So let's scroll down and let's have a little look at active investment. Total investment so far 4,480. Active investment, I haven't taken anything out, 4,480. And total earned, if we look at the splits, we can see that total lending profit, I think I'm on day 52, is 1,497, and my total commission, my referral fees, are 433. Doesn't mean that much now, but if you come back in 6 months time or a year's time, it may be interesting to see where we've been, where we've come from, and where we're going. So let's play with that. Let's take a look and put those details down. So the time now is 02:59 on the 19th. So let's add that to our calculator. So 2:59. So what we actually put in was $20. It's $20 of reinvest money. And it was 170 of other money that we've brought in from elsewhere. Now this is only for daily reinvests. So although I have reinvested it using the normal system of doing the reinvest button, I want to keep everything separate. I don't want to mess up my return on investment figures. I don't want us to mess up my starting amount figures. So we're going to have to do what we did yesterday and the day before. There was a video for it. If you see, I've actually added 400 there in this figure here, plus 400. And we've also added further down another investment, which is 230. Now today we are adding another figure. So we need to add in 170 into this bar here. So we go plus 170. Now that's actually messed up my return on investment and my total investment here. So what I need to do is minus that 170 from the total figure. So if you go to the macros here, and you can see I've already added an extra $750. So we need to add another 170. So I make that 920. So we need to change that 75 to 92. So the difference is 920, which is over and above. And now that's fixed all of my figures. There we go. And what we also need to do now is go to the Bitconnect page. It is now October the 19th, so I need to colour in the 19th. So we're now on day 53. Let's colour that in this pretty orange, which is the one on the top right hand side. And we also need to add our deposit of $170. The other place where we need to add this is on the projected. So if we go to the graph, you can see that the graph here where we put the extra money in has gone whoa, straight up. It's gone up because it's not part of our straight line, this predicted 0.9% daily. And you can see the red line here is the tracking on the daily reinvest, and it's tracked really well all the way through. So to get this red line to go up as well, to mimic that 0.9 and not mess up the system, we also need to add that to the projected for tomorrow. So we need to add in this box also 170. So we've got 170 on the projected and 170 there. So that is our graph done for today. Speaking of graphs, now we'll go and actually save this. so I can play around with this. We had a question today. Now, we've had lots of questions about the calculator. A few issues that people have had when they've had their copy. They've used it on different machines, they've used it on Windows and iOS and different screen resolutions, and they've had a few issues with viewing. So one of the things here is looking at the history of this line. Now this line, historically up until day before yesterday, has always been a dead straight line because we're using that prediction of 0.9% every day, and all I've ever done is put in my initial investment, and then it's only been recently I've added more. What that would look like, I've got some other Bitconnect timelines with the principal growth. Now this is actually my wife's grandfather's sheet. Now he's 80 years old, not that au fait with working with the interwebs or Excel, so I do all this for him, and I do his daily reinvest for him as well. So this is the straight line graph, and this is his prediction. It's slightly higher than mine because very early on I had a 0 day on day 2 and he had like a 1.9, so he was already out of the starting blocks and away. But you can see that's still a straight line, that's that 0.9%. If we look at another alternative, and this is part of our team who has actually done something completely different, but what this is someone's brought in, one of the members of our team has brought in a very low figure earlier on and then systematically added to them and held it in a wallet. So you can see that the graphs never projects a straight line, but you can also see that 0.9% has actually mimicked that graph pretty well all this time, and that's from the end of August, so that's always nice to see. So we can delete those. Let's not save those. And we'll minimize these. So let's get back to what we are talking about. So we're talking about Bitconnect. So Bitconnect is a platform, and the platform consists of the coin where you can invest, you can trade, you can lend, you can mine, and you can stake. So those are the 5 different things you can do within the Bitconnect platform. So the coin itself, now just like Bitcoin, Bitconnect uses a completely decentralized blockchain. It's a distributed network of nodes and miners. So most of us know what a miner is. If anyone who has been on this system should know the basics of how cryptocurrencies work. So you know what mining does. It actually protects the transactions to the system and it provides the network security. But what is a node? Now a node is a full client that owns a copy of the blockchain, and it's sharing the blocks and the transactions across the network. So the Qt wallet is also a client desktop wallet which also contains all the blocks. So the Qt wallet is a receive only wallet until an outbound transaction is requested. Now nodes are usually residing on a high power server which is fixed, and it's usually has a dedicated IP address. So most of the networks have a floating IP address if you have a home address, so they're usually proper servers living in the system. So we spoke about the Qt network, the Qt wallet, and I deliberately haven't opened my wallet because I wanted to show someone else who had a query today in an email about the Qt wallet, if this thing is ever going to let me click on it. No, it seems to have frozen. We'll come back to that in a second. So I need to come back because this has just frozen. No, let's try it again. There we are. So I'm opening the Bitconnect wallet. So this is the Qt wallet, and this also contains all the systems and all of the blocks, and it will chase it. Now we've at the top here it says out of sync. I've just started it and it says out of sync. Someone commented on YouTube today, should I be concerned that my Bitconnect wallet says out of sync? What out of sync means is that it hasn't got all of the latest blocks from the network since the last time the program was opened. So we'll probably come back to this a little later on, but this should catch up pretty quickly. So because of the type of client, now this is a desktop client application, which is why it's called one of the reasons why it's called a Qt wallet. We've gone through another video before of what a Qt wallet is and what Qt means and how it's developed and how it's used and why it's used. And you can see now the out of sync is gone. It's now caught up with the network. So we can now delete that. So Bitconnect. What about the platform? Now the platform itself is a centralized system. So the platform is made up of database servers set up for real-time financial transactions, just like a bank. That's the best way to think of it. So, and then there's the application itself. So you can think of the application in various different layers. You have a web layer, you have a mobile layer, and there's also the application which controls the block explorer, which talks to the master node. We've also done other videos looking into the system moderately in depth, and we can tell from the way that the system is constructed that it is being agile developed. So agile is a methodology of building a system. So it's a certain type, and by the code, looking at the code, we won't go into the code today because we've done that in another video, and we will be going more in depth in another video again. But we've also found out that they use an MVC framework. So an MVC framework is, again, it's another type of methodology, and MVC stands for model, view, and control, and these are other layers. So the types of layers that I expect a site of this size, of this complexity, now it's not the most complex of websites. It's not the most complex of platforms. It does have real-time transactional history, and that's more to do with the database. But me, over the last 10 years, I've probably built 50 sites that are more complex with this, with maybe 3 or 4 developers. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a very, very simple system. Other layers that you may have would be like a data layer, a security layer, and also a distribution layer, and probably many, many more. So we'll probably dig into some of those just to let you know a little bit more about this centralized system, because it's quite important to distinguish the difference between the coin, the Bitconnect coin, and the Bitconnect platform. So let's go through the layers. This site has a model layer. So what is a model layer? The model is the interaction and response of the logic and the libraries that control the system. It's the intelligence of the system. It's all the code that deals with the intelligence of the system. So the view layer would be everything that you see, everything that's visual. So it would be the CSS, which is the cascading style sheets. It will be the HTML, which is the hypertext markup language, the actual code that actually builds the website and gives you the layouts and everything. There's the JavaScript, and there's the viewport. Now the viewport will be a selection of classes attached to the CSS, which will change based on the view. So it's to do with the stretching and the contracting as you adjust your screen, or if it's on a mobile or a desktop or a laptop or PC, or if it's on a big screen TV. It's the resolution, the DPI, and the way that everything moves and interacts based on the position of the window that is showing the website. Then we have the control layer. Now the control layer and the model layer will be designed and built by the developers of the system, and it will have been done at design level at the same time by the same people. Now the control are the operands. The operands is the statements of operational limits within the website. So I'm trying to give you an example. If we go to the Bitconnect wallet, and I tried to take out 0.1 Bitconnect coins, the operands, the control, should have the logic behind it to tell me that this cannot go below 0.000000. Now this is the issue what happened last month. Something went wrong with the control area of the MVC model. Someone made a change and it allowed for a minus Bitconnect wallet and a minus Bitcoin wallet, which is why the system was down for a day and a half whilst they dug into that issue. So that is an issue, or was an issue, with the control area of the MVC layout of the platform. Then we have the data layer. So the data layer is the database logic, and it's also the version control for upgrading the database system, which ties in with the actual database itself. Another layer would be the security layer. Now these are the protocols for the security on the website. It is the client-side protocols. Now there will be separate security for the databases, there will be separate security for the network, but this is just the client-side protocol. So this is everything that lives within the code of the website that tells you what you can and can't do as a security measure. So again, if I wanted to transfer Bitconnects into the lending wallet, one of the security controls would not allow me to bring Bitconnect straight across without trading it first. So these arrows on the transfer button are only pointing one way, and that's right. Another thing would be in the login, so it would be maybe the salting or the encrypting of your data, so your email address and your passwords. That would all be part of the security layer. And then you have the distribution layer. So this is probably one of the last layers that I would expect to be mandatory. There could be many, many more. So the distribution layer is the network settings, the DNS settings, and probably the content delivery service attributes and variances. So the website all around the world goes to a content delivery network service. So the CDN produces the content in a location near you so that the website is much faster. So that makes up the platform, and there are probably dozens of developers working full-time developing just the platform alone, and they're probably working full-time, 24/7, they may be two teams. I would expect that this system, this centralized system, has an acting CEO, it probably has an ops director, a director of operations, it's probably got a technical director or a CTO. I would imagine there's a head of product who would also head the Scrum team. Now, the head of the Scrum team could be a separate person, but they will be in charge of these agile methodologies. They are the person that overrules or guides. They are the mentor for the development team. And they will get their directions from the Scrum, which is their daily meeting, where they figure out what they're doing for that particular day as part of these agile methodologies. And it's also where they would deal with the head of product and directly with the technical director. So it would be a very small group making the decisions, and that gets filtered down to the development team. That development team will probably consist of a lead developer. So the lead developer is the developer who's in charge of all the other developers. There'll be lots of senior developers, maybe some juniors. There could also be a UX developer, or UX stands for user experience. So there could be someone that deals with the user experience process of the website. So what they would do, anyone in UX, they look after the steps of interaction and workflow. So they go through, right, you log into the page, you come here, what's the first thing you look at? So they work out where your eyes go. Is everything that is set up here logical? And if I click on this button, what pops up? Does that automatically, when I make an action, disappear, or do I have to click on something else? So their position is every time I go to reinvest, this pop-up goes, and then what happens after that? Do I then click here? Do I click there? Does this button have an icon? Does that mean, what does this tell the user? All of these questions is up to the UX designer. So that's to do with user experience. Now, there may even be a product designer. I'd imagine there would be. So a product designer would be head of the product. So they are in charge of everything to do with the development team that appears on the actual platform itself. So any requests, any change of requests, any new information, any new features or products that are brought in, they will be working with the developers to make sure that the vision is brought into light quickly, swiftly, on time, on scale, and on financial budget. So that's what a head of product would do. There may even be a product designer, there could be a graphic designer, there's probably a systems analyst or two or three, there will definitely be a systems administrator. Now these guys tend to look after the servers. It's a position that I did for many years. I'd mainly looked after Linux servers and Linux systems and big networks, but what they do is they also look at the reporting layer. It's all the monitoring systems, and these guys, if there isn't two of them and there's one of them, these guys are on 24-hour call out, and these are the real unsung heroes of systems like this. And there's probably a data migration team. There could be one, there could be five. Data migration teams are basically data analysts that look after and move data. They deal with data, they move it. They don't necessarily do any data analysis in terms of working out operations or looking at big data stacks or doing anything with it, but they may do some kind of analytics and move it and compress it and move it offsite and make sure it's secure. So that's what a migrations team would do. And they may even use software design patterns. Now, I've looked into the system, I've looked at some of the software design patterns that they use, Now, software design patterns, they are interface logic for creating development behavior without using implicit classes. Now, this all sounds quite technical. The reason why I'm saying all of this is because it's the amount of people involved in keeping a system like this afloat. This isn't one guy in a back room, a little geeky developer thinking I'm going to make a ton of money and I'm going to do this on my own. This is actually quite a medium-sized to large-size enterprise. Quite a small development team in the grand scheme of things, but these are professionals, and you can tell over time, having used the system, what they're doing, why they're doing it. So, some of the methods they're using, there's a factory method I've found, which is to do with class instantiation. There's decorator patterns, which uses subclasses control. There's a facade pattern, which uses a high-level interface, which uses interpreters, iterators, and mediators. And all of those patterns, they're all loosely compiled aggregators. So all of this stuff, all of this is all going on in the background. So when we're talking about centralized system, these are the type of things that a big bank would have. And they have the same problems, they have the same ideas, they have the same issues. So why isn't the platform distributed and decentralized? So I'm trying to think of the reasons why you wouldn't have a decentralized system. One, it's really, really hard to do. And it's really hard to do as a beta project and launch it with lots of people. So number one, I think, would be operational control. You need a human interface for the changing markets. Markets are changing all the time. You need someone to be there, to have their finger on the button, making changes, making decisions. The second reason why it's not distributed and not decentralized is the development accountability. You always need someone who needs to lead the vision, because this vision isn't over yet. It's not finished yet. It's being developed, it's being tweaked, it's being improved all the time. Every day you look in and you log in, you can see little tweaks, little improvements, and every day there are small iterations. This is part of the agile methodologies of developing and maintaining a system like this. If you didn't care and you were going to do a runner, you wouldn't do any of this stuff at all. So this platform is definitely here to stay. The third reason why the platform probably isn't distributed and decentralized is to do with agile responsive development. For all of the reasons that are listed below, you have to be reactionary to change, or reactionary to any downtime or any hiccups or any issues. It needs that human element. So if you think about it, Bitcoin has several forked teams. So although Bitcoin is also decentralized, the development teams, the people that decide on what changes, what goes on, they are central teams, and they kind of have full authority to make changes based on the vision that was written in the white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto. So if you think of it that way, that part of the development, the way that Bitcoin is going, is down to a centralized system of teams, and those teams have split recently. You've got Bitcoin Cash, you've got Bitcoin Core, there are 6 more planned before the end of this year. So this is the joy and the curse of the system. So it's a double-edged sword. And the thing that defines what happens is it's a system of winner takes all. If you look at Bitcoin Cash, it's going down, Bitcoin is going up. It just goes to show it's all to do with an evolutionary process where the market decides who wins by the adoption of those markets. That is the beauty of decentralization in that effects, but I don't think it would work with a platform, an investment platform and a lending platform like Bitconnect. It kind of has to be a centralized system. So they could use AI to do everything, of course. I don't think it's quite there yet. I've used AI. I've been in the AI industry for the last 3 to 4 years, big time, especially with Amazon. If AI reacted to markets like there's no human reaction to markets, there wouldn't be any volatility. It would just be a true representation of the market value by market trends. So volatility is caused by greed, by hedging, by hoping, by hoarding, splurging, saving for a rainy day. These are all distinctive human behaviors. No human, there's no markets to trade with. So the coin is a decentralized distributed network. The platform is a centralized application. So that's bad, isn't it? Well, No, not necessarily. Compare the platform to somewhere like Dubai. And that might sound like a really, really strange analogy. If you look at Dubai, it's modern, it's dynamic, it's engaging, it's groundbreaking, they're building the most amazing things. There's no guns, there's relatively no police presence, there's almost no crime, there's no terrorism, they have great education, they have wonderful communities, everybody's well off, and they're also tied to a cryptocurrency as of next week. The dirham is going crypto, so Dubai are the first country that are going into the crypto market. So if you look at Dubai also, there are laws, there's Sharia law. Now, you break the law, there is swift justice, and it is harsh. So could the ruler of Dubai bomb Iran? Yes. Could the ruler of Dubai declare war on Egypt? Yes. Do they? No, of course not. They are a peaceful, benevolent dictatorship. So just like Bitconnect, could they close down the platform? Yes. Could they run off with your money? Yes. That's the real answer. Yes, they could. Is there any reason why they would? No, there isn't. Why would they have an asset? Or they wouldn't actually have an asset if Bitconnect didn't exist. So that is my analogy of the difference between the centralized system and a decentralized system. The centralized system is the platform, the decentralization is the currency, Bitconnect is tied to Bitcoin and the lending wallet, Bitconnect is also tied to the lending platform. You come in Bitcoin, you can either leave in Bitconnect or you can leave in Bitcoin. It's a very, very harmonious system. If you're not into it already, I believe in it. I'm doing really well at the moment. You can too. I'm Roy Murphy, you've been watching the Bitconnect YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video.
This video was brought to you by Team Smurf. We bring you new videos each and every day. To join our team, click the referral link below this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and interact with us in the comments box below. Bitconnect, creating wealth for everyone.